set this shit up. Don't ever go live.
I'm trying to make an effort to like do more video. So
You need to.
yeah.
Am I
You
like?
should.
Am I rainbowed out? Let me pull up. Let me pull up the video on my other monitor.
What's going on? We are live. Don't mind Lisa right now. She having some technical difficulties.
She is.
What's up, Sherelle? Shout out to Sherelle, man. One of the chat queens from Conversations with King and all the other nice panel shows they have out there. We're gonna let a little bit more people rock in, and we're just gonna BS until we get people come in here. Y'all get the likes up for me, please. But man, you know what? We two days away from the new year, I think, right? 30, 31st. Yeah, 2 days away. Man, how y'all year went? I know mine it started off better than it did 20. It started better than it ended. I say that, to the moon.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Okay.
What about y'all? Elise is now a Texan.
I'm delayed.
My year was good. My year was good. We had a lot of things on the op side. The high point, I guess, being Log4j or Log4j, depending on what you call it. I mean, what do y'all say? Like, I've heard Log4j and Log4j. What are y'all calling it?
A headache.
There we go.
Log4j.
I had to ask.
Log4j.
I mean, but Java. I feel like Java's been a headache though. Like,
wait, let me add my guy. The talking uncle to the stream real quick, man.
Oh, here we go. Here he come. Here he come.
He probably got some. He probably got some E and J now.
Baby. See. This is why we didn't let you in the first place.
Let me see. And shout out. I don't know if y'all can see my shirt. Shout out to Dream Big or Live Small, the Optimist shirt. I'll put his website link in the bio so y'all can go check out his merch.
What's going on, everybody?
Okay. Not much. I see.
We
At least made a little bit of straightening.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing but straightening.
Y'all can hear me good, everybody. Yeah.
Nah, you must be running. You must be running Java over there.
Can't hear me good.
You got a little echo in the recording booth. I see you got the the noise cancellation in the room and stuff. You probably need to put some headphones on, maybe.
Nah, I'm gonna switch to my to the mic, to the other mic.
Okay.
It's running off MacBook mic.
Oh, that's why we hear that. Shout out to Professor Black Ops. He's in the chat. We're gonna be doing something next year. Always dope. Might get a chance to even bring you up. He always coming with the knowledge. He's been in the game with 30 plus years. So always amazing to have somebody like that. But without further ado, let's get into the topics. Everybody's busy. I ain't trying to waste people's time. Y'all know what to do when y'all come in here, get the likes up. So the first thing we're gonna talk about is some of the stuff we see on Twitter. People talk about stuff like this. So we're gonna talk about gatekeeping and really what would you consider to be gatekeeping and what isn't gatekeeping. And I'm gonna let y'all walk first since people used to me talking, and then I'll just add on, the sauce to whatever y'all put on the meal.
D, I feel like you need to go first.
Yeah. How you gonna put me on the spot?
I'm just saying.
Right.
I feel like you need to go first.
So, as someone who's experienced like actual gatekeeping in the workplace, the stuff that happens on Twitter is playground, like kid stuff for the most part. Um, to me, gatekeeping is someone purposely trying to hold you back from either, entering the field or advancing in the field. I worked with someone who used to, like, you'd ask him questions One time I asked him for like the default password and he told me, "Oh, you don't know how to crack a switch password?" And this is like a production environment. No, I'm not gonna reset a switch for a password in a production environment. Like, what sense does that make? Um, I'll also add like just putting up like unrealistic hurdles, like, oh, you're not really in tech if you don't have like a computer science degree, or you know. That's probably the best one. I'm gonna stick with that one.
No, I absolutely agree. So for me, and me and D have talked about this like on Twitter. Like for me being one of those people who sort of came into tech in a, I guess, non-traditional way.
Mhm.
That term gatekeeping has come up a lot. And I think that we, in a lot of ways, misuse the term. So for me, gatekeeping is, like Dee said, purposely withholding information, or I don't want to say withholding information. Let me not say that. Purposely trying to keep someone from gaining information. But I think when we talk about the conversation about gatekeeping, we have to have the conversation about permission and consent, right? Because a lot of times people will reach out and like, so I'm a teacher, right? I'm an instructor. So for me, if you ask me anything, I'm going to try to help you find the answer. But I think that we have to have the conversation about who should you be reaching out to, right? Like not everybody is online to give you information. So I think that we
Mhm.
have to have the conversation about consent before you jump in somebody's DMs, or before you at somebody, or before you do any of these things, before we talk about gatekeeping, right? It's like if somebody is not an instructor and they are not a person who has put themselves out there as somebody who is freely giving away information, if so, for example, if somebody sells a service, right? If you sell a service and somebody comes to you and they ask you a question and they say, hey, I know you normally sell this type of information, but I want it for free. That's not gatekeeping to me.
It's not.
No.
That's not gatekeeping to me. To me, that is, you simply that is you protecting your brand, right? You can't sell something that you easily give away for free. Whereas for me, even though I work for a company where I teach, there's certain information that I give for free every single day. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm always talking about, hey, this is the way you can advance in the SOC. This is the way you can move forward in this. So I think we just have to reshape the conversation around gatekeeping, and we have to really ask ourselves, like, is this person gatekeeping, or is this person protecting their brand? Or is this person trying to make sure that, because imagine if I taught my courses on Twitter for free, right?
Mhm.
If I gave away all the information I gave in my courses for free, what's the point of buying a Cover 6 course? And my bad, bro. I don't know if we can plug on here. This is not me plugging, but what's the point of
rock out, man. It's so many people in the world. I ain't pressed about that. Go ahead, rock out.
what's the point of buying a Cover 6 course if I'm giving everything away for free? So we can't come to somebody and say, oh, you're gatekeeping, because we can't say, oh, you're gatekeeping because you don't tell me the information I want to know. And I feel like
Right.
that's the big conversation around Twitter, where it's like, I asked you a question, you didn't tell me, so you're gatekeeping. Where it's like, bro, I ain't signed up to be your mentor. Like, I didn't sign up to help you.
And that brings up a good question. Like, how do y'all feel about people, jumping in the DMs and asking to be your mentor? And
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
That's just to be honest. To me, if you want a mentor, you should know that person. Like, actually know that person. How do you know if the person you're asking to be a mentor even knows what the hell they even doing? Or
Right.
are they even a good person? You don't even know what they're doing in their professional life. So people ask me on the regular, can you mentor me? Can you mentor me? I'm like,
and then you gotta go.
no, I don't know you and you don't know me. How is this gonna work? No. I don't get that.
Yeah,
I don't
I
understand.
agree.
It's no like I'm not being negative. I don't think. I
They
just
need to build up like a rapport with you.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. They just
And I talk about that in my ebook too.
my mentor.
And then do people want you to mentor them for free? Like,
Hold on.
So
I don't
mentorship
mind mentoring
is
for
I don't
free.
mind that. Mentorship is free.
okay,
Coaching is paid.
Coaching is paid.
Right. That's what people want to blur the lines. They want
Yes,
you to actually be their
sir.
coach, but they actually to be a mentor. That's
Yeah,
what it's one
okay.
at, because
Let's
a
talk about
mentor is what I was for Day, which I mean I still am. As far as he doesn't come to me and ask me every single thing he do. He just asks for advice or on certain things. Coach is I'm giving you a blueprint of what you need to do and follow up with you, and we work on different things. That's what a coach is. That's what
We build a plan together. We build a
You
plan
actually
together.
right, and you actually take use of my valuable time when you're a coach. When I'm coaching you, when I'm a mentor, most of the stuff I'm doing for you is for free, and that's because I see you actually putting in the work. That's what it boils down with to me.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like I mentor on Twitter, right? Like I mentor by saying, hey, here are 3 projects you can take advantage of right now if you're working in the SOC and you want to not a SOC. If you're working in the help desk and you want to transition to a SOC. Whereas I coach for money, right? So and it's not necessarily. I saw a comment that said the game is to be sold, not told. And as much as I love Southern nomenclature, I don't mind telling the game, but I don't mind telling the game because I am a teacher, right? It's what I do. You know what I mean? It's what I do. So whereas De'Ara might be like, hey, listen, I sell XYZ service. You can't come to me and ask for the services that I sell for free. Whereas, like, I'm a teacher. If you ask me to do something, I might not tell you to Google it. Now, I'm gonna be honest. If you haven't RTFM'd, don't ask me a question. Like, I gotta be straight up, and it's not because I don't have the time, but it's because insecurity and Henry, you know about this, man. We talk about due diligence all the time. So when I ask a question, it's because I've run into a roadblock. It's not because I haven't done the research. And even in my networking days, so many times somebody be like, "Oh, I'm having trouble trying to understand BGP." Well, I'm like, "Yo, did you read the RFC for it?" Because I can help fill in the gaps, but if you ain't read the RFC for it, then all right, spoiler alert. Anybody who hasn't seen Spider-Man, I'm about to spoil it real quick. Oh, my bad. At least have you not seen it? All right, well,
sick, man, sick.
Oh, you have been sick. All right, so think about it like this. It's only one part, Lise, I promise. So there's a part where a thing happens, and Dr. Strange is like, "Damn, you haven't even called? Like, you haven't done the bare minimum to try to get the information that you need." And furthermore, let's talk about paid services, right? Like, you may not need to be paying me. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
You may not need to be paying me.
Yeah.
You may need to just read the manual. And I know new people hate to hear that. Like, RTFM all day. Like, read the manual. And anybody that don't know what RTFM stands for, can I curse, bro?
Bleep it. Bleep yourself.
Yeah, we good. We didn't got 15 minutes in. We still can monetize. Go ahead.
So RTFM stands for read the fucking manual, or read the freaking manual if you're being PG-13. And so just like, come on, like, give me something. And so, I don't know. Like, too many people.
Reading may be a problem. Reading may be the problem, because when I was in a school and they were calling kids up to read in class, Them kids was jacking shit up, and I was like, man, let me read it. Just let me read it.
And I don't know if it's
I'm the jack shit up
necessarily the
kid.
reading though. But so if they want to mentor you, and this is just my opinion, or if they want you to mentor them or guide them, or they want to ask questions, and they want to be in the field. The entire field revolves around knowing how to research, knowing how to search something up. So if you can't even do that on your own, even if you can't read, well, if you can't read, well, you're reading to yourself. If you can read to yourself, that's okay. But you're going to be put in situations where you don't know the answer by yourself. You're being fed to the wolves. What if the senior on your team ain't there, and you're by yourself?
It's just an animal.
Wait, hold up.
And someone's purposely trying to gatekeep you.
Wait, hold up, Lise. Lise, you comment. You said something about reading, right? I want to point out, not all of your mentors are going to be people you know. So, for example, most of my mentors come from books. I've never met them. You know what I'm saying? Brene Brown, Colin Powell, Dave Ramsey. These are people I've never met, but who have mentored me throughout my life. You know what I mean?
Hey, and Drake and J. Cole been mentoring me, for about 10 plus years.
Oh, Kendrick, dude, Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City. Good Kid, Mad City is gospel for living life. Like, and we could talk about that on another episode, but Good Kid, Mad City is gospel for living life. But sometimes you have to search it out. And I saw a comment that said you got to read the RFC before. What did it say? You got to read the whole RFC for BGP before you engage with the protocol. No, you do not. You do not have to read the whole RFC because technical language is extremely boring. It's extremely boring. But before you come ask me a question, it might help for you to hit Control F and search for the thing that you're looking for in that RFC. Right? Because a lot of times when people come to me, my first question is, what are you having a problem with? And half of the time they can't answer that. Like, what are you having a problem with? It's like, oh man, hey, I'm really having a problem with some type of detection engineering I work in cybersecurity. I don't know if we said what we do, but I run a SOC. A lot of times people come to me and say, oh, I'm having a problem with detection engineering. I don't know cyber kill chain, or I don't know the diamond method. And my first question is always like, well, what are you having a problem with? Because I'm not about to teach you the whole thing. And, excuse me for being blunt, but I get paid to teach. I can help guide you in the right direction for free, but I get paid to teach. So that's my whole comment on and then, okay, so to bring this back to what we were saying, gatekeeping to me is when you purposely withhold information that you could easily give. So if somebody asked me, so for example, I was on a podcast not too long ago, a really, really dope ass podcast. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of it. It's called Textual Chatter, but you know what I'm saying? I was on a really dope podcast not too long ago. And one of the questions was, how did you get into security operations? I gave that away for free. So if I send you a link to the podcast that I shot, I'm not gatekeeping you. I'm saying go watch the episode of the podcast. De'Ara gives out fucking information so freely on her Twitter. I learned stuff. I'm not in the networking world anymore, but I learned stuff from her podcast. From her Twitter, just literally just following her on Twitter. You don't go to your doctor's office and be like, hey, I just got a question. I ain't trying to pay no copay, but I just got a question. You know what I'm saying? This hurt. I just got a little question for you. I ain't really trying to pay no copay for it, but I just got a question. You don't do that.
Gonna run me.
You don't do that.
And I was going to touch with the gatekeeping thing because, we're on live now. So these are two of the women on this panel I consider myself to be cool with. So if you come for them on Twitter, I'm coming for you, and I won't stop. And they know They know I
had
won't.
this discussion. I remember you was like, I'm coming.
But
Full
I
force.
remember people got mad at her at Diera because she was telling people they didn't have to go get a CCNA. They could just do Network Plus. And they was, I want to say they was trying to say she was gatekeeping. I'm like, no, she's trying to tell you to prevent you from spending money you don't need to spend because you only need to know the basics of whatever you're doing if you're not directly going to be in networking. And I was like, that's absurd. Like the stuff they say is stupid. Now, I've never once, in my book, I've told people I have a section that's like, do you need a degree to get in tech? I talked about boot camps, degrees, certs. I was like, even though I went to school, you don't gotta go. I went because during the time I went, 10 years ago, they was pushing you had to go to school. This information went out here to say, oh, if you go boot, do this, this, and this, hey, you ain't gotta go to school. You can have a decent living. You can pretty much tech. I really consider tech to be like a glorified trade. But some people, schools are marketing it wrong. Because you can go work in tech in anywhere, just like a trade. That's how it should be taught. It should be taught like a trade and not necessarily a profession you got to go to school for. Because if you get a year or two experience, you get some different certs and you go do all this and that, you should be good. That's how I look at it. I mean, people, they just have fake outrage or they just want to be right. Or maybe some people that's selling some courses on how to get your CCNA. So that's why they feel like she's gatekeeping when you say you don't need it. I mean, who knows?
But that comes back to doing your research. I mean, once you do your research, I mean, you can figure all that out, I dropped out of college 3 times, but I did that because I did my research that last time because I was going to the, when I got into tech, I started going to that Hallmark little tech information technology school. And I already researched about the cloud and they weren't talking about nothing about the cloud. And I was like, hold on, y'all on this A+ Network Plus, Security Plus, get your CCNA, and then figure out what the hell you want to do from there. All right, I got you. I'm gonna get this A+, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the field. I'm gonna get that CCNA knowledge, but let me do my research and see if I need that. Like, do I want to be in networking? Like, the help desk job, like they ain't gonna put you right into networking right away. So you're gonna have to figure. All that stuff is going to help you, but while you're at those lower level jobs, you could be training, for the position that you actually want to be in, and then get that cert for the position that you actually want to be in.
Yo, can we talk about that for a minute? Like, Shad said something real that I think is really, really important. Figure out what you want to do first. I see so many people trying to learn everything.
Yeah.
They want to learn cloud, they want to learn networking, they want to learn security, they want to learn development, like
Salesforce, ServiceNow, just unrelated stuff.
I wasn't gonna go there. But not yet. I ain't got enough drinks in me. But they want to learn everything, and I'm just like, what do you want to do first?
Make 6 figures.
What do you want to do? Like, when I started, and again, I took the non-traditional path now. Like back then, it was the traditional path. Back then, it was you get a help desk job, you figure out what you want to do on the help desk, you get a specialty job, you figure out what you want to do on a specialty job, and then you specialize more and more and more and more. I got a help desk job, and excuse me, bro, because I know I said this on the podcast already, but I started on the help desk, and then I got into networking. And while I was working as a network engineer, I got a firewall project. I had a Cisco ASA, and y'all, Lise and D, y'all gonna think this is ancient, but I had a 2900. I had 2 2900 series, and we were migrating from.
I still use them.
You still use 2900s? Who you work for? Let me just who you like.
We're in the process of.
I have seen them.
A lot of them companies are still switching over.
Trust me. No, those are
old. Y'all should not be using 2900s.
Hey, we in the process. Trust me. Inherited. Inherited.
2900s were EOL. 2900s were EOL in 2019. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I had a 2900 series. And we were migrating from Dell SonicWall. This was right after Dell bought SonicWall. We were migrating from Dell SonicWall to Cisco ASA, and I had to build site-to-site VPNs for these firewalls, and nobody wanted to do it. And if you follow me on Twitter, at the E is for extra, I talk about all the time taking advantage of the jobs nobody wants to do.
That's how I got my ICE experience.
Nobody wanted to configure these firewalls for point-to-point connections, or excuse me, I want to be technically accurate, site-to-site connections, so that Twitter doesn't come for me. Nobody wanted to configure these site-to-site connections, and I was like, oh shit, I'll do it. And that's how I started in cybersecurity, or infosec, because I still have a problem. I still have a hard time saying cybersecurity. It's infosec.
Yeah, I just think cybersecurity sounds cooler, and that's the word. Like, think about it. You go to somebody, I'm working information security, but you say, oh yeah, I'm in cybersecurity. It's kind of like, oh, okay, what you do.
A lot of things cater off of the word cyber ops,
Right. Yeah.
cybersecurity.
Shoot, and what's that show they used to come on PBS?
Cyber Chase.
Yeah, I used to watch Cyber Chase. So hey, people know.
So I got a question. For Lise and De'Ara. This is something we don't talk about a lot of times, but I want to bring it to the forefront. The boys club, right? Like, as somebody who was very much privileged and very much able to avoid that. I mean, like, that wasn't a thing to me, right? I never had to deal with the boys club. I mean, we talk about being black men in this industry for all the time, but like the boys club, like, and there was a I hate to put down another instructional institution on live, but there was a recent instructor who made a comment that was very very boys club-ish. I won't say his name because we won't give him no airtime on this at all, but y'all know who I'm talking about. There was an instructor who made a comment about just like women not being passionate about this industry, and that just hasn't been my experience. So how have you guys navigated the boys club that is technology in your careers?
Yeah, you're gonna go first?
Sure. I've been fortunate enough to have worked at companies with allies who will see that bullshit and call it out like on the spot. Like, I've had people in meetings like repeat the same exact thing I said, and I've had people who will be like, "Oh yeah, that's what De'Ara said," or "Why don't you let De'Ara explain that some more?" Or just straight up, like, if somebody cuts me off, no, De'Ara was speaking. So I've been fortunate enough to have that. In the instances where it was just me, I have walked out of meetings because I needed to remove myself from the situation before I cuss somebody out. The Baltimore was about to come out.
Just cuss them out. Just cuss them out.
Can you let the Baltimore come out real quick? Because you be hiding.
No.
Can you say shoes?
Can you say you?
Can you say shoes? I just want to hear you say shoes.
Anyway. And just I have learned to speak up for myself and just let it be known, like, I'm not tolerating that behavior. Either remove me from working with this person, or I'm gonna remove myself from the company. Like, it's too much. Like, networking is challenging
it's
enough.
What much?
It's too much. Networking is challenging enough, and there's enough of a headache, like just managing the technology, to then have to worry about guys just being jerks. So
when we talk about guys being jerks, I hate to bring race in this, but is this black guys and white guys?
So my first job was 98% black.
Okay.
And our IT department, with the exception of one team, was 99% black. So our application team, they were very diverse, but the rest of the teams were primarily black. So I've seen it from black guys, and more recently I've seen it from white guys, and I've also seen some shit from black women, like, who enjoy the attention of being the only, and they do shit on the side too. I had somebody I worked on this diagram for about 2 weeks, getting it right, getting it very detailed. found out I was shut out from a meeting. I get the notes from the meeting, and this woman has claimed all of my work. I was.
Sound like
How
we
did
got
you
a
deal with
lawsuit.
that? How did you do? Now, okay, if we want an example, y'all, that's gatekeeping. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I was fear. I let myself calm down. And at the time, the person who was mentoring me in the workplace was like, let's not. It was a very highly political workplace. So I wanted to go up and confront her, and they were like, no, that's going to look bad, da 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 da. Let's just, let her have that. And, eventually, because she has now boasted about this, people are going to go to her and the results ain't going to match up. And they didn't. But in that moment, I absolutely wanted to confront her. Would it have worked out better? I don't know, but I definitely wanted to be like, sis, don't play with me.
On the streets.
The Baltimore was about to come out.
Streets.
So what about you, Lise? Like, when we talk about the boys club, because it is, I mean, me, Rashad, Henry, we do have a certain level of privilege being men and being able to assert ourselves without being called the B word or without being called aggressive. Like when we do it, it's called ambitious. You know what I mean? So what about you? Like, how have you navigated that? Because, like I said, I came from that networking world, and I know that industry and that thing is very much. Oh, did we lose Lise?
I think so.
Okay.
There she is.
Oh, she's
There
back.
she is.
So what? How have you
my
navigated
bad.
that world? It's on you, by the way.
I can't hear though. Hold on. My computer died, so I'll be right back. I'm listening, but I'll be back.
We got you.
I had somebody call me the B word at work.
At work?
That was fun. At work.
Oh,
In the
hell
office.
Man,
Like, was it like bitchy or like you a bitch?
No, it was literally
Excuse
that
my
bitch
language.
has an attitude problem.
Oh,
oh,
wow.
man. Was it somebody like me working there with you?
It was everybody. Was
Ain't
just
nobody like
"Wait,
you, Shad.
what?"
Ain't nobody like you, bro.
They're coming to me. Hey, somebody just called me a B. Hey, let's go.
They
But you
did
know
it,
what
like,
though? I
out in the
found
open.
out though. Right? Yeah, I found out like every time like I'm talking to a client or somebody, it's never no stand-up guys around them when all this stuff is happening.
Yeah.
Because one of
That's
my old coworkers, she was like going through stuff like little petty stuff, like engineer not giving her access to the tools she needs to do work and stuff. Like, so I would talk to her and we figure out stuff, but they would do kind of like subtle stuff. It's never nothing in the open because they know a person like me gonna say that's not right. Or I'll talk to them and say, hey, what did so and so do about this? Or what did they say? Because I'm trying to see like how is people letting certain stuff fly because it don't make sense to me. But yeah, that's that's crazy. People out here wild, and they don't do that type of stuff to men because they know it's going to get physical, or as Drake would say, 0 to 100 real quick. Because there's no way possible you finna go walk up to a grown man and say that to him, because that's gonna be the day he loses his job. And when he in the exit meeting, they're gonna say, "What happened?" Hey, I went off on him.
Or
I didn't
because
do no words, I just punched
you a
him.
black dude who people almost, and this is one of the reasons why black people are criminalized, right? Is you're a black man who I'm only 5'7". I'm not a huge black dude, right? I'm 5'7", I'm 220. I'm not a huge black dude, right? But there is a certain presence that we carry, that's almost put on us. Like, it's like, oh, this black dude might punch me in my fucking mouth. He might punch me in my mouth. And it's like sometimes, and to De'Ara's point, sometimes it's like, oh, you're not gonna talk crazy to me in a meeting. But at other times, it's like I might say something simple like, hey, I disagree. And bro, that gets taken. Hey, Rashad, you have talked about this. I can say something as simple as, man, I disagree. And they'd be like, whoa, calm down. It's like, all I said was I disagree. You know what I mean? So
I worked with somebody who used to bait people into arguments, men and women. And then
That's
the
trash.
minute you would either remove yourself from the situation or go off on them, then they like would play the victim. Like, oh, see, this is why I can't have these discussions with Yara, because, you know, she just shuts down. She just stops communicating. And it's like, I'm not about to sit here and argue with you because you want to do something stupid on the network. Go ahead. It's your job. At this time, I wasn't like a senior level person. I'm just like, hey, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. But, you know, go ahead. Have fun.
They
Make
know
sure
if
you're
they
ready
say
to
something
write
to
up
me,
that RCA.
and I reply with that slow but soft, like, fam. It's then you know I'm be calm, and then it's up after I say fam because you didn't say something that made me have to call you fam because I don't call you fam at work.
Has anybody ever? Oh wait, I'm sorry. Lise is back. Lise, we talking about the boys' club. I want to hear your experience too.
So luckily I was still able to hear y'all. But so I've had experiences on both sides where I've had people who didn't tolerate it and they would call out any and everybody who tried it. But unfortunately, I've also had the opposite end. And this was very early on. I would say more so earlier in my career, where this is all brand new to me and I was easily, I guess, the easy target, essentially. So if I would ask a question, there's been times where I was like, how do you not know this? You don't even need to be working here. All this other stuff. There was a time where there was a shop lunch going on, and this was like, it was like kind of off hours going on. So like it opened at 7 and I was the only one that came in at 9. And so after 9 o'clock, I had a meeting, an onboarding meeting, because I was kind of still newer in the company or whatever. But it was delayed by, I think it was onboard maybe 2 or 3 months. So it was like a late onboarding meeting. And I came back. It was only 2 hours, and they knew this because I even came back in there and I knew about this shop lunch. And so I was like, oh yeah, for sure, I'll be back 11 o'clock. I'll be back before, actually, like 10:30. And I came back and everybody was gone. And who goes to lunch at 10 o'clock? Nobody go to lunch at 10 o'clock. So I was stuck. Everybody went to lunch, and then they came back and they started kikiing, talking about how funny and great lunch was. But it was all the guys, all the men. There's been, if I was a lead in something and I would make a suggestion, it would get shot down. Or like De'Ara said, someone would be like, oh, I'm going to take claim to this. I said X, Y, and Z was going to work. Okay. I don't know. So in early on, I didn't handle it well because I didn't know how to navigate the boys club, essentially. I know how to navigate it in a military aspect, but in a civilian aspect, it was a lot worse. And so I didn't know how to deal with that. And there were times where I would literally go to the bathroom because it was the only freaking place that there'd be no men, and I would cry. You know, like I would legitimately be sitting there crying, not because I'm sad or I'm hurt. I was frustrated,
Angry as fuck.
I was mad. I didn't know what to do. And as time progressed, I learned how to better navigate the boys club, and I have no problem checking people. Get out. Goodbye. At this point, I have no problem checking people.
Yeah.
And,
Chris had a great question. Chris has a great question.
Do you believe that the type of culture is defined by management? It is, for sure, 100%, 100%,
100%. I think
because good managers never let that happen, and it didn't even like as soon as it was like put in, it was checked so quick. But a bad one, you know what? They're in it too. They're kicking on.
I mean, we've all heard the saying, right? Shit rolls downhill.
Mhm.
And I think that applies to culture as well. You know, if you have a manager who allows that boys club type of mentality to propagate throughout the team, then I mean, that's what's going to happen. I think that management has to step in and say, hey, you know, like you said, De'Ara has something to say. Or if somebody starts talking, it's like, wait. I hear what you got to say, but I would like her to finish her statement. And it's, let me start by saying it's unfortunate that we have to do that, right? It's unfortunate that we need allies in a lot of ways. I won't touch on too many of those because then we'll get way off topic, but it's unfortunate that we need allies in a lot of ways, but it takes somebody to be like, yo, bro, like you tripping. But I think, and this will come up, let me see later in the show run, but it's like it comes up to like, are you in tech or are we talking about tech? Because from my experience, it's like people who talk tech, it's like, oh no, your tech knowledge is solid. Period. I don't care who you are. For my networking people, it's like, oh, the network's flapping. Like, and flapping, for anybody who doesn't understand, just means that there are intermittent failures in the network. But the network is flapping. What do? I don't give a shit who gives me the answer. I really
just
don't.
give me
I don't
the answer.
care. Just give me the answer to why the network's flapping. Because if you know, in my position, it's like when I was a network engineer, it's like I worked for a company that had 13 different sites, and the network flapping means that credit card information is not going where it needs to go. It means that customer data is not going where it needs to go. I don't give a shit who gives me the answer. The network's flapping. I want to answer.
Right.
Right.
And that's where
And this
I've
was
been able to. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say
no.
that's
Go
where I've
ahead.
been
No.
able to like really shine because people would. I've been in situations where people would like there'd be projects going on and they'd give me like documentation or like something when I've already proven I can handle more technical stuff, but depending on who the lead was and what their problems were, they would just give me like little minuscule tasks. So while and I would just be like, "Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and, knock this out, and I'm gonna take all these notes in meetings." I'm a person who loves notebooks. I'd be writing a meeting, taking all my notes, like, "Oh, I don't understand that. Let me research this." And then when something goes wrong, and I mean, I have suspected that there were situations where I was kind of like set up like, conveniently this breaks and you forgot you left out this piece in the documentation. It was a very specific case, but been in situations where like I wasn't involved in any of the technical piece and then something broke. But because I had paid attention and I was doing my research and studying while y'all were being petty, I was able to show up in that moment and fix it or at the very least triage it until we could get someone more senior.
Yeah.
And everyone sees that and they're like, oh, well, shit, you know this. Why aren't you doing X, Y, and Z? And it puts a microscope on said lead or said senior person. And now, okay, well, you know what? Nope, you don't need to do that since you're complaining about all this work you have. Give some of it to De'Ara. And that was how I was able to like get more responsibility in some situations because people were not trying to let it go. And one thing I wanted to add to the management conversation is I've had managers who call it out, but it also just got to a point where like you see this is a repetitive behavior with this person, but you're just slapping their hands. You're not like taking any real action against it. And they
Yeah.
end up
Doing shit. Yeah.
We
they just
definitely can
end
go
up
down
Oh yeah.
a slippery slope with that. This is gonna be the last thing I touch on that so we can move to the next thing. What the real issue is, a lot of people are used to these workers who be in the meetings and all this and they don't say nothing. Now, us as people, we pretty vocal. We ain't really most of the time be quiet. I've been quiet lately in my meetings at the new places because I'm not really working on nothing, so I ain't got nothing to say. But please believe when I am, I will. But I went through plenty of meetings where I had people older than me not saying them, but then go mess up the next day. And I'm like, fam. So now when I tried, I'm telling y'all, the viewers who watch it, I tried so hard to get a black woman on my team so bad because I want her to come in and make all the men look bad. I wanted one or two things to happen. They were gonna skip their game up, but they was gonna quit. I was trying to do that so bad, but it was hard finding people to hire because it's still fairly new to a lot of women that they weren't really in those roles like that. But I brought that up to segue, and it's because then we can dive into that maybe later on. This kind of be Rashad's thing. I haven't dealt with this too much, but let's talk about this right here: real recruiters versus fake recruiters.
All right, here we go.
How do you distinguish
anybody with a name you can't pronounce?
Ooh, I'm not gonna go there.
I don't know. I don't know. I might let you be on that hill when you're home.
You can't pronounce the name in one shot. Nah.
All right, so I will say this, and this is coming from somebody who hasn't had to work with a lot of recruiters. I have mostly worked with corporate recruiters, so I will reluctantly let Rashad lead this conversation. But I think that when it comes to recruiters, you have to vet, right?
Yeah.
You have to do your vetting. There are some really, really good recruiting companies, right? K-Force, Tech Systems, and this is not an endorsement by any means. This is not an endorsement. But there are some really, really good recruiting companies, and there's some really, really good recruiters. However, there are Hayes is another good one. Somebody just tweeted me. Hayes is another good one. Glowcom. Yeah, there's a lot of great recruiters, but we talked about this when we talked about technical stuff. You got to RTFM. Like if somebody reaches out to you and there's like, hey, I'm from XYZ company that you never heard from, but I got a 6-figure job for somebody who has 2 years of experience. I mean, it might be, listen, if it looked like I don't want to say this. If it looked like shine, but it smell like shit, you gotta pick one. You know what I'm saying? If it looked like shine, but it smell like shit, you must have quit. Like you have to really vet these people. I personally don't go with recruiters. I'm not gonna say who I can't pronounce their name, but I am gonna say that there is a such thing as a language barrier. And sometimes I personally go for recruiters who can speak my language with ease. I don't go for recruiters who have a language barrier. But you got to realize, as popular as the tech community is with us, it's just as popular with. Damn, I hate to use this word, y'all. I feel like we got to take a shot every time I say this word.
Just like everybody else.
It's just as popular with scammers. Drink. We got to drink when we say scammers. As popular as the tech community is with us, it's just as popular with people who are scamming and things like this. So you got to do your research and you got to vet these people. And just remember, oh shit, D-Jax is on here. What up, bro?
What's going on, gentlemen and ladies?
So you really have to do your research when it comes to these recruiters, because you can't just be talking to every recruiter. I mean, think about your LinkedIn, your Indeed. How many people are in your inbox with jobs that ain't real?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's a video I've been wanting to do because it get a little tricky. Because I ain't gonna lie, 3 years ago when I was looking for work, every time I dealt with these certain type of recruiters, it seemed like the job ain't had no traction. I ain't gonna say what their nationality is, what it was. I mean, if you've been in tech long enough, you probably can guess. But it seemed a little bit fugazi that nothing ever went through with them, and it made me a little apprehensive. Like, y'all just trying to get my information or something. And eventually, I kind of stopped really even going that route because most of those roles were contractor roles too. It was just because if we really think about it, how hard is it for me to go scam? We're gonna say a company like Microsoft, right? I go scan Microsoft. I make up my own domain. I throw up a page real fast, and I go take everything on the job description, and then I start saying, "Hey, I'm a recruiter for so and so. Yeah, we got the job opening right here. How hard is it, for me to do that? Not at all. I can even set up my friend act like they work for Microsoft.
Yep.
Or you don't have the job yet, because this is what I've run into. Recruiters are trying to build a Rolodex of candidates before they have an actual account. So I had a homegirl, y'all. The recruiter asked her for her social security number as a part of the application process.
Absolutely not.
And look, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, because when I was desperate, that's what I ran into with them people. But I'm gonna tell you, I was always checking my stuff. I didn't have no type of things open up on my credit or nothing like. So it wasn't nothing like that.
You on the cybersecurity side, Rashad. What about you? Because you on the development side. How does that work? Because Henry, me and you are on the cybersecurity side. So unfortunately, we're skeptics by nature. It's like if you ask me for anything more than a first name, I got questions. But Rashad, what about you on the development side? Like, how does that work?
So, with a lot of ways these people get our information also is because we sign up for a lot of stuff. So, like, we signed up for Udemy courses. We're signed up for, Udacity, Coursera, all these Google courses. And, like, all this data is being sold. So, and it's being sold to somebody. So, I just look at it the way that, okay, somebody got our data and, they're, that's why people be hitting us up when they know you're taking certification and stuff. They be hitting you up, with the certification little thing. Like, we can, we got all this training and yada, 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 with 100% pass rate. So, like, if the stuff is too good to be true, like, I don't even answer the recruiters if they're not recruiting from a major company, honestly. I did get your first couple of tech jobs. You may have to start out as a contractor. I wouldn't go back to those little contracting companies after you get a full-time employment in a major company. I wouldn't go back to any of these little contracting companies. Get your, you can get in there, to get your experience, but I mean that's about it. But then you got so many, like you said, you gotta do your research. K-Force, I started off with K-Force at USAA, but when I was at USAA, that contract got bought out by HCL, which is the third largest contracting company in India. So that H-1B visa thing is rampant. That H-1B visa abuse is rampant in tech right now. So
I recognize HCL, DXC,
Infosys.
I thought K-Force.
Atos.
I thought they was scam. I don't know if they was a real company or not. Every time
K-Force is legit.
K-Force, Texas.
But the question is, do they actually work for K-Force?
Yeah.
That's the question.
See,
do they?
I think that's the one feature of LinkedIn that needs to be added is
they need to verify recruiters.
Yeah.
Verify recruiters, but also if I say I work for my last company, I can say Optiv. If I say I work for Optiv, Optiv needs to have a person dedicated just to saying who said they worked here. Yes, they did. Now, because the only other way you can verify that is through a background if you want to do it. But I'm just talking about somebody just from LinkedIn looking at it, because if that happens, that's cool. But a way I also try to tell people to verify some stuff is, hey, see if that person got some recommendations from people that they worked at the same company with.
So for me, it's just like, I mean, this is probably from being in InfoSec, right? I OSINT that ass. Like, I'm about to get deep into like your LinkedIn. I'm about to get deep into like who's referred you. I'm about to get deep into who you work with. I won't accept a LinkedIn request, and this is for anybody who sends me a LinkedIn request. I will not accept it if you don't have mutual connections and like your posts don't line up with your industry, right? So if you say, "Oh, I'm in the InfoSec industry," because and Henry, you know this from being in management, a lot of these people are salespeople. Like, y'all trying to sell me a product, y'all trying to get me to sign up for some demo for a $25 Amazon gift card. And let me tell you something. If my company pays me $75, $85 an hour, and you want to take an hour of my time for a $25 gift card, do your research, dog. I'm losing money by talking to you. I'm losing money just
That's
by
facts.
But
they just be trying to meet with you. I'm like, fam, I don't do nothing with this. I met with somebody one time. I was like, man, I don't know. I can reach out to the salespeople I know, and if they say yay, I can direct you to them. But I was like, what's Tyrese say? What more do you want from me? Like, what do you want from me, fam?
I'm not gonna lie. Don't give me a free wireless access point for a demo, and I was like, I don't do no with wireless, fam.
Nah, hey. No, I'm just public service announcement.
This Wisp wireless access point, I want it. Come on. I want it.
If you work for CrowdStrike, send them one or Tanium, and you want to give me a free demo with some access, holla at me. I'll meet with you then. Because I need to do a video.
They come back and they say, "Here's some free access. We're gonna send you some equipment." I say, "Thank you."
Right, because I need to do an EDR video, and because EDR is one of the things everybody can get their hands on, and that's something I want to do a video on. But I also was gonna say, I'm able to tell who the people that's trying to say, hey, are you looking to get an AWS, CISSP, or whatever them certs they try to pay for to get you to get? I'm able to see through all them now on LinkedIn. They be killing me. Blocked, or I don't want to go on a rant, but the MLM people, I be reading them their rights. They block me because I beat them to their pitch before they ask.
All right, so I got a question. I feel like this is gonna be trouble.
Oh, let me take a drink.
Go ahead. Hey,
I feel like this is gonna be trouble.
It's spicy.
All right, let's talk about certs.
Why
are you laughing already? I hadn't even said it.
She gets the most.
All right, let's talk about certs, man. Let's talk about how we as an industry market certifications. I okay, so let me preface this by saying that I think certifications and degrees hold I think they represent a measurement of skills attained. I don't think they teach any skills. I know Twitter's gonna drag me for this. Twitter, I'm saying. Hold on.
Wait, let him land. Let
me land. Okay, so for example, I got my CCNA, right? I got my Network Plus. I didn't learn networking by studying for my CCNA and Network Plus. Right? They proved what I already knew, but I think that sometimes we as an industry, we from an HR perspective depend too much on certifications. Like I think that asking somebody who's just starting out in their career, to spend 3, 4, 5, God forbid you want to go get some sand certs. Oh my God. I don't even want to talk about that price. But God forbid you want to go get some sand certs. You want to spend all this money to go get certifications when it's like, how many of y'all have encountered people who got 2 years of experience but got a CISSP? And it's just like, I mean,
on help desk.
Yeah. On help desk.
Yeah.
All they had is help desk jobs. They got 2 years of experience and a CISSP, and it's just like, who are you, bro? Yeah. And then you get them in there and be like, hey, why shouldn't we expose port 3389 to the internet? And they're just like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, like, or for my networking people, it's just like they come in there with a CCIE or CCNP, and they're just like, oh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? If the network's flapping, I just do a save run and then I just reboot the switch. And it's just like, nah, but you wouldn't.
I did interview a guy who was like, oh, you just reboot the switch. That was their troubleshoot. Go to.
If
Turn it off,
if
turn
you
it
gotta
on.
reboot anything, if you gotta reboot any networking infrastructure, you don't get the job. Like
No,
I work
that's
for a multinational company. Don't reboot shit. Like don't reboot shit. Ain't no risk calculation. There's no risk calculation that you know what? I'm not gonna get into that because this
I was just going to push
So
back only and say the practical certs would be ones that would prove skill because you have to.
can you call out a
That's not
practical cert?
APNC. What you got? ECIR. I think you got. I think OSCP is one too, right?
it was as far as I remember.
From a cybersecurity perspective? Because I'll give you a hot take right now.
Give me a hot take.
The CYSA is the best practical certification on the market.
That's the one I always tell people. I tell people wait till you get a job first, because I feel
The
like
CYSA is the best certification out there for cybersecurity.
I feel like it's a hard test, but it's very beneficial, especially if you're in the SOC. If you already got Sec Plus and you get CYSA, you straight. Everything you do gonna go up because you're learning when you're studying. But if you just study and take it before then, you really didn't gain much from it.
Well, we come from different disciplines. So for my networking people, how are y'all feeling about certifications? Because we all come from different disciplines.
Yeah, so I'll disagree with that you can't learn from certs because I've definitely, when I wanted to, like, I'll take ICE. For those of you who don't know, ICE is the Cisco Identity Services Engine. It's pretty much their like top tier security product for network segmentation, VPN posturing, all types of security related things related to endpoints in your network. I learned a lot from that cert because if you've ever looked at, I learned a lot from the study material. I haven't finished the cert yet, but if you've ever been inside of ICE, you can work completely on one piece of it and never touch the rest, and you will know nothing about the rest of it. Like, it's just so, they pack so much into that product. It's absolutely possible to work on one piece and not do anything else with the rest. So I've been able to learn from that. Where I think the learning from piece comes in is doing some type of labs with what you're learning.
Definitely.
If you're just reading the book, no, you haven't applied it. Like, it's one thing to know it, but you don't. And people always kind of push back on me when I say this, or they used to. It's not as rampant now. But for me, like, the
No, make sure you don't gatekeep.
yeah.
Don't start
The
gatekeeping.
connections
Don't start
weren't
gatekeeping.
like, the connections weren't there until I'm actually like on Packet Tracer, typing in the commands, seeing the output that gets, brought back to me. Something like the Security Plus is more informational. So I think those entry level certs, the Security Plus, the things that don't really have labs, because it's designed to just introduce you to the topic, that's like a different thing. But I think for everything else, if your cert has labs, you need to be doing labs. If you're studying for a cloud cert, you need to sign up for Azure or AWS or GCP. And everything you learn in that, go try to do like on your platform. That's the only way it's really going to connect. To me anyway, like, I can read it and then I'm like, okay, yeah, I have book knowledge of BGP, but I've never configured it.
Definitely.
Lab every day. Hold up, Rashad. I want to hear yours. Oh no, I'm sorry, Lise. Go ahead.
No. Like, if so many people come up to me and be like, where should I start? I'm not learning anything from this. I've had someone DM me talking about, I've been studying for the CCNA for 4 months and I haven't learned anything. And I was like, well, what have you been doing? And the entire time, all they've been doing was literally just reading the book.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, unless you put it into practice, lab it, like whether it's physical or virtual.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell everybody, I was like, you don't need a full-on emulator. You spin up a VM on your dang computer, have all this stuff. You don't need that to understand half of what is going on. I would say that I wouldn't say that, you don't learn anything from certs. I think when it comes to certifications, especially for me personally, I learned a lot more. Like I learned about something, for example, for studying for a certification. I didn't necessarily know how to implement it or know exactly how it worked until I used it or had to figure it out in a production environment.
Right.
And so that's where I was like, oh, but the knowledge of me, like learning it, reading it in the certification, I was like, hey, if something like an example was, I mean, it could be something as basic as, I don't know, spanning tree, like with a switcher or something, right? If you go in there and you've never even read about it, you're like, what the fuck? What's spanning tree?
You plug a switch in and now you confused why your whole network's off.
Exactly.
You
So it's like, but that certification gave you that knowledge of, hey, this is what it is. Now let's see it in action. You know, let's see what it really does. So that's where, like, anytime that I study for any type of certification, I always supplement, and I tell people at the same time: study, supplement. Like, you need a lab. You need a lab. At the, you don't need to spend money either.
I want to point out something for that. Like, if you're looking at like GNS3 and all of them, and maybe you got like an older computer, or you like me, I don't have space for a physical lab. If I plug a switch in here, my electricity will probably go out. I'm in an older home. But like I use like cloudmylab.com, and I'll drop the link in the chat. And like for $30 a month, you can get like a little like GNS3 setup. You like RDP to the machine. It has all the images, and you can like lab your heart away. They also have like EV&G and Cisco modeling labs, but they're more expensive. And also, if you have the time and access to images after you like, if you're a network engineer, after you get a job, use your Cisco account to capture those images. You can spin up like EV&G on Google Cloud, and now you have like your emulator set up, and you can run it on your crappy computer.
Yeah. Real quick for the viewers, if somebody was in an interview when they asked them how to remember the OSI model, I'm thinking Lise has the perfect verbiage for that.
So I don't know if y'all saw that I had tweeted today about the crazy cricket interview I had. And if you saw my example, I was like, I bet. I'm going to say, he had asked me, he was like, okay, he's like, this, you understand DNS, you understand cloud, you understand application gateways, firewalls, yada, yada, all this stuff. He's like, you get the OSI model, right? I was like, yes, I do. And he was like, I was like, a matter of fact, because this was the ending of the interview, and he set the tone. I'm going to just say that. He set the tone. So I said, I'm going to say it. I was like, I'm going to say it. It's inappropriate, but how do you feel about it? And I'm going to just say he tried to take credit for it. He wrote it down and everything. I said, nah, it's me.
We got that on video. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, just say, if you hear this anywhere else, I said it. But if you need to remember the OSI model, how I do it, there's different ones that are, I can't say that on YouTube though, but I'll say, so the word is going to be kitty, but it supplements the word that starts with a P. Okay, this is good with that. But it's going to say, pimps don't need to sell kitty anymore. And it works. Everybody gets a laugh out of it. And it's like, Kiki, Kiki. Oh my God, I'll never forget it. And like the dude that I told it in the interview, he literally almost fell out in his chair. I was like, did I get the job? Did I get the job? Did I fit it? I made you laugh.
You should have.
That's a good one.
Oh, that's not E. Somebody's got an echo going on.
Yeah, I was on mute.
Is it me? I'm on mute.
So I am I'm old school. Please don't throw sausage pizza away. But yours is amazing. And I actually saw the tweet. So I know what it is.
We need to I don't remember the name of it, but there's a service where you can have somebody's tweet framed. We need to do that and send it to her.
Yeah, no, I know what the tweet was. It was not please don't throw sausage pizza away.
Got it
It
all.
was not about sausage pizza. It was about
Yeah,
something else.
Sometimes you gotta sprinkle a little spice when it comes
Little
to
spice, little spice.
Little
That's
spice.
it.
I don't know, salt bay.
Little seasoning. Okay, little slappy mama or something up on there.
No, look, Tony Satchel, you know how we do.
Man.
Yo, Henry, you put a thing on here. It's like how to tell if a tech person is providing useful information.
Let's get to it. Look, boom. That was the next topic.
Ooh.
I don't got my soundboard stuff up, but this is definitely worth gunshots. But if I had my
gunshots. I think I want to go with the Biggie gunshots. You know what? I think I'm doing Larry June ad libs the rest of the podcast. So whenever I agree with something, I'm doing Larry June ad libs numbers. Anyway, so this topic is near and dear to me because I think that for somebody who's been doing tech for so long, I think that there are people who haven't been in tech a super long time who have some really useful information. But I also think there are people who get into tech to sell information who sort of saturate the brand and make it like, for lack of a better term, piss poor. So I think that when you vet people who are in tech, I think that getting an idea of their experience is a really, really good. It's a really good indicator, right? So it's like I can't tell you shit about software development, and if you look at my history, there's going to be nothing about my history that tells you about software development. Whereas you go to Rashad's page, right? You see software development history. So I think that the first thing that we can do is look at their history, vet them, look at their LinkedIn, look at their resume. I am not opposed to asking for a mentor's resume. Like, what have you done? And again, De'Ara mentioned this super early in the podcast. Build a rapport, right? And then be like, hey man, can I see your resume? Like, I'm trying to figure out how to organize my resume, how to make my resume better. Can I see yours? And if you look at their resume and they're trying to tell you about software development or agile or DevOps or DevSecOps, which is a new popular term, and they've never done development, it's like, I don't know if I'm looking to that person for DevOps.
I'm gonna take it a step back. Before you even start,
come on, James Harden.
We touched on this earlier. People need to research the free information that's out there. If you're looking at like advice for a certification, you need to be on that vendor's website, looking at what they say the certification covers. You need to be on YouTube. All of these big vendors have YouTube channels where they talk about their products for free. They talk about their products. They talk about their certifications. Cisco has monthly webinars, sometimes twice a month, on their different certifications. You need to be attending those events. You need to be looking at, the vendor, the certification of products website. You need to be on YouTube, a day in the life of. You need to do all of this groundwork, and then that'll help you spot people who the math just don't be mathing. Like it just don't. Or you hear them, they're just regurgitating all the shit you just learned for free because you attended vendor X's webinar. Or looked at, they read the write-up for the certification.
100%
and then you'll already know, like, okay, you're just repackaging stuff. Cool. And then like to build a rapport with people, you can just like ask questions and ask a question on Twitter, see who answers, see who really dives into detail versus providing surface level information. It's a lot of people out here who have become influencers who are just providing surface level information. Like where's the like meat and potatoes about it? Like you're just saying, oh, network engineering makes the internet run. And that's like all your content. Like where's the rest of it? What else are you doing?
No, but that's the big question though. Like, what are you doing? What are you working on? Shout out, I know you got some stuff to say on that.
Man, which is crazy because I've been watching Reese ever since I got into tech, and I already know she's all about networking. I didn't have to talk to her one time. She's probably never. I know she just started following me like last week or something, but so she probably never even heard of me until last week. She probably didn't even know who I was, but it's all good. You know me now. But I've been following you, and like that's like dude, like the people that came before us, like Dewan, Lightfoot, like Kelsey Hightower.
Shout out to Dewan. Shout out to Dewan. Shout out to Lab every day.
Like even the IT career questions guy, Zach, Network Chuck. I used to watch all these guys back in the day, and that's kind of how I, knew which way to go and just figure things out. Like now we are like, we're like the new group. You know what I'm saying? So we're like the people that are getting into tech now. Like we're like the people that people are looking up to now.
The grassy, the new generation.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly. Everything's in the cloud now.
Yeah, we don't.
Oh yeah, that was a funny cloud tweet too.
Oh, everything's in the
no
cloud.
equipment. There's no equipment with the cloud at all.
No, we gonna network through
Bluetooth. From home. Like we should still
when they tweeted that, I came for De'Ara. It's like, oh, we just networking through Bluetooth now. Like I guess that's what we do it.
Just
all right, my bad. Look, we went on a rant, y'all. Hey, you guys.
I was just gonna touch on like
the cloud is not a website. I just want to point that out. The cloud is not just somebody's website.
Because Reese looks like she had something she wants to say.
You not touching that?
No, she already did. No, Reese already.
I said what I
said.
What I said, and I meant what I said. Okay, networking. Y'all talking about the cloud. Always see the cloud.
What about SDNs? What about SDNs? SDNs are gonna kill routing and switching.
Somebody replied that to my tweet, and I just stared at it for a very long time.
Cisco pointed out.
I'm just looking like
they all
because Cisco bought Meraki for absolutely no reason. I mean, we not gonna talk about that though. We not gonna talk about that.
I kind of seen it writing on the wall when I did my research about tech, and I was like, man, they're gonna let people have access to networking stuff, and you can only just pay for it. A Cloud Guru, they they were doing their business on the free tier AWS for a year before they started paying.
Well, so I'm gonna blow your mind. You know that GCP runs in a container?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it runs in a container. Like it is
Kubernetes.
They manage their entire infrastructure via Kubernetes. That shit's crazy to me.
All that.
There are switches that run containers.
No, there are no switches. We do it all through Bluetooth and
yeah, okay.
What was it? Who was
NFC.
What is it? Switches are obsolete. Y'all saw that.
We do it all through
switches
NFTs
are obsolete. Nobody
and Bluetooth.
Switches anymore.
We do it all through NFTs and Bluetooth. Like that's what it is.
I think what people are confusing with that argument is that you're gonna have less of these smaller, like you're gonna have less like IDFs in a building. It's gonna be more centralized to like data centers, especially with people working from home. And the stuff that's on
we're going back to the edge.
Yeah, the user facing side is gonna be like your Merakis and your your software like run. You're not going to have to do CLI. It's all going to be GUI based. But in the data center, all of it's just shifting like back and forth. So we had a bunch of stuff at the access layer, and now we're pulling it back to just focus on the core layer, which is your data center and the cloud. But you're still going to have people who have to manage the networks in those data centers for like every company. Like, how you communicating? How you still have company run data centers. There's still going to be stuff that's
you
going to be
communicating
on-prem.
from one cloud to the next cloud,
right?
But I
from
mean, but
private
dear,
to
to your
public
point,
cloud.
to your point, even in the cloud, right? It's like somebody has to understand
Mhm.
networking, right? So it's like so. For example, I create global load balancers and firewalls all day, right? To make sure that
Mhm.
my apps can communicate with internal databases and external customers all day, right? Somebody got to manage that networking. Like, I go to a network
Mhm.
engineer and say, hey, give me the subnet I can use. Give me the IP range that I can use. And I don't know if you saw my tweet the other day, but I was like, routing and switching is not the same as routers and switches.
Mhm.
And that's a key point. Like, right, routing and switching still has to be done by someone.
Yep.
Because packets do shit that packets do. Period. We ain't got away from the OSI model yet. Like,
Mhm.
those packets have to get, because at the end of the day, computers are electronic signals passing electronic signals. So we still have to do that same OSI model architecture somewhere.
Right.
So when I hear people just like, oh, routing and switching is dying, I'm like, no, it ain't.
What do you think your ISP does?
it's not it's and I don't think a lot of people
What do you
just kind
think your
of focus
ISP
on a
does?
lot of the big name companies out there, knowing that there are significantly more smaller companies out there, smaller mid-sized companies that do not have the budget to go to complete cloud infrastructure.
Everybody can't go cloud native.
They cannot go cloud. And if you do work with a mid-sized company that does some form of semi-hybrid, if you want to put it, they'll host like OWA in the cloud. They'll have like O365. Maybe
What about
some,
those VPCs?
they'll do AD, they'll Active Directory, maybe they'll host it in the cloud. But a lot of times when they use it and they host it in the cloud, they also kind of have an on-prem server using Active Directory while communicating to the cloud. So it's not. And I think they're so narrow-minded because they just hear, oh, these are these
buzzwords,
big money.
Oh, not to mention your SaaS provider is sitting in a data center somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Your SaaS provider is sitting in a data center. So your Salesforce, your PCI processor, your SaaS provider is sitting in a data center somewhere. Oh, he pulled up the tweet. All right.
So the rest of that, or the person, because there's an anonymous account, they responded back with, oh, well, if a company has money to maintain physical network gear, how do they not have the money to migrate to the cloud?
What the fuck do you think the cloud is?
But okay, do they not know that? Oh yeah, maybe people with hybrid environments that do host maybe majority of their stuff in the cloud. But do you know how much it costs to have a cloud firewall? Okay,
Bro, forget that.
Company
get out.
Okay.
My basic thing is get out. Get out. Like, if you believe in the cloud so bad, just get out. Get out of your building without any fucking networking hardware. Just get out. Just try it. Try to get out.
And a lot of companies can't. And a company that I worked at previously, they had a lot of homegrown applications that just aren't cloud ready because they were built before the cloud was a thing. And 90% of their business relies on these homegrown applications.
And you got to decompose those.
Yeah, and because it is a homegrown application, it can do so many things, and they just aren't products on the market that can compete with it. And because it's homegrown, it's not like they can say, all right, we're going to buy this application for this piece and then make it talk back to our homegrown application. Because either it doesn't work, it's going to take too much time to code it. So they're like, well, we still got to have a data center because we still got to run this application until something better comes along. Because we didn't pour 20
do it over Bluetooth. We can do it over Bluetooth. I don't know
spent
what you're
20
talking
years
about. All I gotta do
customizing
is pull
this.
up my shit and pair it.
3.0.
All I gotta do. Oh, not the Web 3. Oh my God, no, I ain't
look,
drunk enough for that.
hang on, look, this is funny, but let me get back on topic for the tech services thing real quick. With this it is mixed feelings. I used to say, hey, if they have been doing it for a certain amount of time, then kind of be, probably be leery of them. But I'll say if they get actual results, then okay, talk to some people that's used them, and probably be a little apprehensive just to make sure. But I would say go for it. But there are some people parading around all on TikToks, doing all type of stuff, getting free bags from designer stores, trying to act like they making money in tech, and they making career bosses. I'm saying it because you put your link on my post, and they ask you for that. Career bosses, and they trying to give y'all advice, and they ain't never really. They just, I don't even know if they're a real recruiter, to be honest. I'm gonna keep it a bean with you, because how you just be a recruiter and you ain't never worked nowhere before. You a tech recruiter all of a sudden. I don't know.
You wasn't shooting in the gym,
right?
You was not shooting in the gym.
So I say be wary of those people, because they talk a good game, but they don't know enough. I would always advise, maybe if you're looking for a career coach, look for somebody that's mid senior level, probably got close to like 10 years in the game, maybe. They have a little bit more experience and have been exposed a little bit more than the average new person, unless that new person did so many different things at a certain position.
Like Rashad.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to be honest, me and Rashad didn't even start off on a good foot. He said something, I said something in his tweet, and we went back and forth for like a whole day just because I was just like, man, what are you talking about? But then he got on the live stream and we cleared everything up. So I mean, it's good, and it's really only for me. It's the fact that not gatekeeping, but I know I worked hard to get where I'm at, and I also just don't want people to be duped and do some advice that doesn't make sense, and now they're mad, or then they're giving everybody else that's in tech flack, when it's kind of your fault that you didn't do your due diligence. But also, I'm trying to stand up for the people I know that's actually putting in work. You got people throwing shots at people for charging for boot camp services and stuff like that. I'm like, that take a lot of time and effort to put together something very quality at a fraction of the cost of what you actually pay somewhere else. Where these schools are charging $15,000-$16,000, and somebody trying to charge you $4,000 for a boot camp, and you want to complain, or you want to be mad you ain't do everything in the boot camp, and trying to say, they a scam. You know what? Matter of fact, look, I'm finna put it on.
Can we talk about that though?
Let's talk about that.
Can we talk about people like? All right, so
how do you graduate from with a degree in computer science, but you still got to go to a boot camp?
Hold on. I feel like we could talk about like people who, damn, I don't want to do this. Like,
I'm at the drink, so you're gonna have to do it.
People who have never worked in tech, but all of a sudden, I'm in tech is the buzzword, right? Like you and Rashad had differences, right? Me and Rashad have like disagreed on how we feel about certification. Shit, on this live stream, we've disagreed about how we feel about certifications, right? But the thing that
never gonna look at my black ass without a certification.
The thing, I mean, my black ass was putting in work, so I just want to make it clear, and this is not me contradicting. I worked in tech for 7 years before I got my first certification.
Yeah, you got in.
But again, I started in 2007.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother conversation. But I think that we really have to I don't want to say we have to start like, I want to say we have to start keeping people out, but we have to really vet these people who say they work in tech, because some of these people, their only job in tech is promoting working in tech.
I don't understand that hey, I work in tech, but then they don't do anything technical.
It's like, what is your job? Your job is promoting working in tech. So it's like, oh yeah, like you can make this career switch to technology. I've never worked in it, but I got the rule book for you making the switch to technology. I got the rule book for you. I was going to use the word rehab, but I'm not. So, you know what I'm saying?
Done, DeMarco.
I got the smack. You know what I'm saying? Like I got the rule book for you redoing your career to get into technology, but I've never worked in tech. And I think it's this thing where it's like, and this is probably where I get called a gatekeeper, right? My definition of working in tech is very narrow. And De'Ara and Lise can comment on this. I come from networking, I come from help desk, I come from SecOps, I come from dev. Like I come from like things that require some sort of technical knowledge is working in tech. You working in legal for a tech company, I don't know if I can consider that tech. It's hard for me, right? Because I'm still trying to figure out, like, I don't want to be one of those people who hold people back, but it's also just like, yo, you don't work in tech. I made a tweet the other day that was just like, yo, maybe we should just start talking about tech for real, and maybe we'll weed these people out. You know, everybody was tweeting about Log4j, but it's like, no, I need to see previous tweets for Java before you talk about Log4j. Like maybe the only thing I've ever seen you tweet about tech is about tech money and not actual tech work. Maybe. So I'm just saying.
For me, my definition of tech is, and I don't want to confuse people when I say tech support, but roles that support technologists, and technologists.
And I was thinking that way too.
Yeah, so like roles that support technologists, the project managers, because let's be clear, tech project management is different from project management in other industries. You got your salespeople, you got your people who do all the back end work on the systems we support. So your Jira people, your Salesforce people, those people who support the technologists, and then you have the technologists. To me, if you and I'll throw tech recruiters in there too, because being a good tech recruiter, you have to understand kind of what you're talking about, and hopefully you got some tech people supporting you. But like you said, like I don't want to say legal, because I do believe there is, and it's a growing field, there is tech law. And there are laws and policies that are only specific to tech companies. And I think we're going to see that grow a lot quicker. But like, if you're an accountant at a tech company, you work in accounting.
Yeah.
Your industry is accounting. And I think people are twisting fintech, but financial technology is the technology that supports finances. It doesn't mean that if you're an accountant at Facebook, you're in fintech. No, you're in accounting. You're in finance. That's your industry. And that's fine. You can say, I'm an accountant at Facebook.
For sure.
Or like you do marketing, and there is a lane for technical marketing where people study tech products and then go sell them with their sales engineers. But if you're just responsible for promoting Facebook, you're a marketer, and that's a lane. That's a very lucrative lane. I just don't understand why like people deviated from just, I work in tech.
No, you don't.
You're an accountant.
And it took me.
You're a cook. Like,
so
make it make sense.
With that, like I know when before I even tried to even work on some type of social media platform, for example, like you said, my view of what tech was very narrow. I only knew the people that I worked around, the companies that I worked with, and like you said, I was sitting here in my mind trying to figure out, I don't want to say support, but they're supporting the tech exactly like you said. And I considered like those people, okay, hey, yeah, you can be technical in the sense as well. Until I got to social media and tried to start building a social media platform, I didn't. I started realizing that people started really trying to say they're in tech, but for some reason, I could not figure out what was so technical about their job. Even though I know that like things are progressing and they're changing, and technology is changing, and it is constantly an evolving topic and everything. And yeah, maybe someone is technical, not with physical equipment, but with cloud infrastructure, for example, running on the GUI. You're not physically touching anything, but does that really make you less technical? And but from my point of view, how I grew up, so like I or grew up in tech, I have about 10 years of experience, and predominantly all of my experience has been working with technical people that deal with physical equipment. So as technology was going on, I started learning more and more and more and more about it. I realized that there are other sides to it. I don't necessarily think that an accountant should be saying they're in tech. Or if someone,
and I would only say accountant probably only say that if they are actually doing like GRC stuff, IT auditing and other stuff, then they would be in tech for sure.
I can see that. But
Because
if they
accountants
not,
are who do the auditing. In GRC, accountants are who you work with.
yeah, but if they're not that, they're just an accountant
they're
that
just
works
working
at
at
a
a
tech
company.
company.
But
And
to
do
Lisa's
nothing
point,
else.
I mean, I think that part of the reason why we see so much of the drama and so much of the, you know, BS is because we we've the term tech or black in tech has become so all encompassing, right? Where it's just like, nah, like for real, there are those of us, and I promise I'm not trying to like keep people out or say, oh, you're not in tech because of this or you're not in tech because of that, because I'm one of those people. Y'all know how people get on social media and talk about the old guard and the old curmudgeon and all these people who I'm them. I started in 2007. You know what I'm saying? So I'm one of those people who, when people talk about like, oh, all these old people who think tech is so traditional and like tech is this and that, I'm one of those people who people are talking about. Because for me, tech is engineers, devs, and finance, sales, and maybe project managers. You know what I mean? But I think that at a certain point, it's just like some of these people are leading people the wrong way. I think that we've gotten to a point where it's like people say tech, where what they really mean is I use a computer at work.
They absolutely know what they mean. Like last year, a lot of this stuff blew up last year because
Yes, it did.
you had all these people, and rightfully so, I'm not bashing them, who were like, hey, there's a pandemic. You can't work. You're trying to, here's my tech. And this is a whole other conversation, but here's the luxurious lifestyle tech has afforded me. And people saw that and they're in a moment of desperation. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people were just like scared shitless, like crap, I still have to go to work out here in these streets with COVID. I don't want to do this no more. So they started
Side.
looking for something. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to ask the viewers. I'm like, hey, put this in the chat because this now, granted, everybody is busy, but this is looking like it needs to be once every 2 Wednesdays, every 3 Wednesdays. But it's looking like that this could be some that people could look forward to, like every 3 weeks or once a month. I don't know, but if y'all want to see this panel or different panels where we talk about all this stuff like once a month, like let me know in the chat and we can work on that.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely enjoying it myself. I'm just sitting back. But you
Oh no,
continue.
this is good. This
But
is
like,
good.
yeah, so last year you had all these people who were desperate and saw tech as a way out, which it absolutely can be. So you had a flood of people who flooded Twitter and we're like, yo, put me on. How do I get into tech? So with all of that desperation, then comes the opportunities. And it's not just opportunity for money. It's people just want attention. People like being worshiped. People like having a cult like following. So they sat back and they watched and took notes and then showed up 3 months later and started regurgitating the same information.
Mm-hmm.
And people gravitated towards it because they're just desperate. They want to know what certs I got to get. Who can do my resume. You got people who have never done a resume ever before. Now they just making up jobs for people. And all of this information is like, people lying on their resume, people saying they're senior and they just got started. And all of this stuff is flooding the market and flooding these jobs. And now stuff is making it more difficult for people to get in and giving companies excuses to continue gatekeeping.
Yeah,
Because
yo,
they're like,
Emmanuel. I'm
I
sorry, I
caught
didn't mean
this
to cut you
person
off
lying.
here.
Go ahead.
Emmanuel, project managers, IT project managers are absolutely people who work in tech. Like IT project managers understand the SDLC, which is for us in security is the secure development lifecycle. They understand it to a T, and they make sure that security is baked in, not bolted on. Project managers are absolutely technical people. Every project manager I know has worked a help desk, has worked a development job, has worked an engineering job. I don't know a single project manager in IT that hasn't worked some sort of hands-on technical role. I think what we're saying is that there are people whose technical expertise comes from selling technical expertise, and that is the problem that I have. You got people like Lise, Rashad, Pierre, me, all of us, everybody on this thing. If I sell you something, it's because I know it works. So if
Right.
I try to sell you, if I try to sell you the incident response process, it's because I've been through 5 breaches in my life, and exactly 5 because I know how many I've been through. If I try to sell you some sort of, yeah, Rashad, if he tries to sell you some of the cloud, never me and his world sort of collide because I'm cloud security, he's cloud infrastructure. Like if we try to sell you something, it's gonna be because we understand. Like I understand that if I'm trying to set up a kube container, that I know how to secure that kube container because I've secured a kube container before. It's not because I read a book and I can tell you, oh, this is how the book says you can secure a kube container. I think the problem is we've seen an influx, to De'Ara's point, we've seen an influx of people who look at the remote lifestyle. You know what? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Tech makes a lot of money.
TikTok culture.
We've seen an influx of people who want to be associated with tech so that they can sell you some service that sort of masquerades itself as masquerades itself with a false pretense that it's going to move you forward in your career, when the truth is they're regurgitating information that God, I hate to say this, they're regurgitating information that they were willing to Google that you weren't.
Yep. They were
Unfortunately.
willing to. They recognize that there's a market of people who just don't want to do the research. So
Don't forget
Yeah.
there they
that
are.
guaranteed makes 6 figures in tech.
Guarantee. Oh my God. Yo, Henry, did we not have this conversation on Twitter a few months ago about like the whole guaranteed 6 figures? Y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all something from a security perspective. I'm about to blow the game wide open. Entry level SOC analyst salary is $75,000 to $85,000 a year. You will not make 6 figures.
Oh, entry level not.
Period.
Even less. Okay?
Period. You will
45,
not make 6 figures.
50K.
You will
Yep.
not make. I don't give a fuck where you. Oh,
If you only want to learn one thing, you're not gonna make 6 figures.
Yep.
Let me tell you something. I didn't make my first 6 figures until I knew networking, programming, cybersecurity, and cloud. I'm gonna just keep it a buck. And again, I started at a different time, right? I started at a time where it's like network engineer was not a title. Sysadmin was not a title.
Yes. Y'all niggas better stop playing with me, man.
You,
That's like the light
what,
skin from Jenner.
dude, you killing
From
me with the video.
Toronto. Yo, stop playing with me.
From where?
When I started, you were the IT guy. Full stop.
Yep.
There was no network engineer, there was no systems engineer, there was no security engineer, there was no developer. You were the IT guy, full stop. You had to do networking, system. I remember having to go in, build a server, build an Exchange server, and then once I built the Exchange server, configure MPLS to communicate that Exchange server from one location to another. And then after I configure MPLS, then having to go create the firewall rules that allow one location to talk to another, right? And then having to take calls in the ticketing system for people signing to Exchange.
That just made me laugh, made me think, MPLS is dead.
Oh my God. So I come from a different time, so I'm very skeptic to say what happens now. Like sometimes my students come to me and say, "Oh, how do I get into tech right now?" Or how did you do it? And I'm like, yo, I can't really tell you how I did it. Like I can't, because it's different. Yeah. Like you like okay, cliche. I'm about to drop a big ass cliche. I got into tech because I knew HTML. I learned HTML because I wanted a popping ass MySpace. That's how I got into tech. I worked at my college bookstore, and they was like, "Hey, we want to create a website," and I was like, "I know HTML." Mm-hmm. That is how so for anybody that doesn't know, for anybody who hasn't watched the podcast, I'm a formally trained teacher. I went to school to be an English teacher. I'm a self-taught tech. I learned this shit because I wanted a popping ass MySpace page because it was this girl. I'm not gonna say her name because I still know her and she's absolutely amazing, but I wanted to impress her. She's not impressed. She's married. She got 2 kids right now. They're absolutely beautiful. She was not impressed at all. But I wanted to impress her. She live in DC, y'all. Like she curved the hell out of me. Anyway, I wanted to impress her. It did not work. But that's how I got into tech. And so I think that, first of all, we have to rein in this idea about tech can absolutely change your life. It can absolutely transfigure your entire social stratification system. But at the end of the day, the thing we don't talk about is the work you have to put in. Yeah. We don't talk about the 3 and 4 hours we sit and study. I studied cloud containers, securing containers for 2 hours today. It's not try hack me. It's not these cool things that you do. It's not the advent of cyber. It's not any of that. It is literally me sitting there reading. Like I studied APIs for 2 hours yesterday because I try to study 2 hours a day. I had to learn APIs because I want to know how Google services interact with my current network. Nobody's talking about that. All we're talking about is, oh, get into tech. It's so easy. Just go get this certification. Do we have to learn so much?
Yeah, you gotta learn stuff that doesn't even pertain to your job sometimes.
Because it could tie into what you need to look into.
And I also think you gotta leave.
Like as me and E talk. Oh, my
fault. Something, Lise. You said something, Lise. You gotta let her say that. You gotta let her say that. No, you gotta say that. You gotta say that.
Raise, I didn't reach 6 figures until I left, and I had to go through maybe 4 positions, and each position was like a 10, 15K pay raise. Mm-hmm. So you can stay at a place for a year to learn. Y'all gotta grind though, like seriously.
And inflation is what? Inflation is what? 8K?
I think so.
8,000, 8 or 9,000. So you really only. I'm not gonna get into economics. We'll move on. We'll move off that.
But people get stuck and they're wondering, I'm not making 6 figures, but they've been with the same company for 10 years. I understand longevity. Blah 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 blah. I think that was the case years ago. I think longevity mattered years ago, and this is like in my parents' time too, when they was working in the 60s, 70s, all that stuff. I think that's when it mattered, longevity. I have never been looked down upon with my resume. If I have 6 months at a company, 1 year at a company, nobody looked down on me for nothing.
That's a
So
contract.
I just don't want that
Mhm.
to keep people, make it seem like, well, if I leave this company, I won't find nothing. If you leave that company, baby, you could probably find a 20-25K raise doing
Yep.
the same exact thing that you're doing.
Or
But some
less.
people get comfortable, they get complacent. You cannot
less.
grow if you are comfortable.
Yeah.
Like point blank, period. You got to dip. You got to be out.
Or sometimes you have to leave the job to get the experience in what you've been practicing for. So say you just got an AWS certification, but you're at the help desk. You know, you may be applying for these cloud positions at this company, but they're not giving them to you.
Mhm.
You gotta leave. You
Mhm.
gotta leave.
I currently,
I don't care how long the
I
contract
love
is.
my job. I love what I'm doing. I've learned so much. I have been looking for another position for months. And I've been trying to find a position that, because I just don't feel as my current position necessarily gives me the opportunity to work on certain sides of the network that I want to learn more about. So what did I do? I went on and I found places that would give me
That's
the
that coaching
opportunity.
side though. That's that having a coach. To Rashad's point, when I was working as a network engineer, they kept trying to promote me to a higher network engineer. Dude, it took me 3 years. Okay, so I want to say this to anybody that's discouraged, right? I worked the help desk for 3 years. Or no, I worked retail computing for 3 years. Then I worked the help desk for 3 years. Then I worked as a network analyst for 2 years. Then I worked as a network administrator for 2 years. Then I worked as a network engineer for 3 years, right? That was my path. And then I tried to apply for a fucking SOC analyst position. Got an interview and they was like, "Oh, you don't have enough experience." Like, you don't have enough experience. And I was like, "Fuck you talking to?" Like who you talking to? And so then when I got a job, they kept trying to promote me to networking. So one manager was like, "Yo, you got a ton of networking experience, but you don't have enough systems administration experience. You don't know enough about patching. You don't know enough about server side. You don't know enough about logging." So I got a job as a systems analyst, but this was because I didn't have a coach. I took an $8,000 pay raise to get a job as a system analyst because somebody told me that that's what I needed to do. I didn't have a coach. So I took a job. So now I did that for 6 years. So now I got over 10 years of networking experience, 6 years of systems administration experience. Then I was like, all right, now I'm ready for cybersecurity. Guess what? You don't have enough experience. And I was just like, what the hell do I need to do? But this is where people are always like, oh, why are you charging for coaching? I went and paid a coach that was like, hey, you're not writing this on your resume the right way. You're not promoting your experience. You're not highlighting what you do. You know, you're not highlighting what you do to make what, you know, to really appeal to someone. I appeal to someone. And to Rashad's point, I had a job. I was working as a sysadmin. I went to the security team and was like, hey, I know all about patching. I do all of y'all WSUS. I do all of y'all threat intel, blah, blah, blah. I got all of it, right? I know all of it. And the manager was lucky enough to be one of those people who would give me information for free. He was like, hey, look, man, I'm not going to have headcount for another 2 fiscal years. Period. Full stop. I'm not going to have headcount for another 2 fiscal years. You can go somewhere else and make this amount of money. He referred me to somebody else, and I went there.
That's a real one.
And I got, you know, he was a real one. Michael Dennis at Red Lobster. He's the information security manager. I'm going to say his name because he's one of the greatest professionals that I know. Not just cybersecurity practitioners, but he's one of the greatest information technology professionals that I know. Michael Dennis at Red Lobster. Hit his LinkedIn up. Tell him Eric Thomas said
he worked for Red Lobster?
He worked for Red Lobster.
Okay.
He's
no, it's funny because
manager.
I seen a dude in my connections, well, somebody I probably should connect with. I think he does something with the cloud for McDonald's. So I was like, interesting.
Yeah, no, hey, yo, like these food services company, a lot of them are moving cloud native. So anybody who's interested in the cloud, Rashad, tell him. I know you got it. I already know you got it.
And look, just go on LinkedIn, right? Just go on LinkedIn jobs right now and just type in AWS and tell me how many results you come up with. Should be 200,000 something. I don't know.
So Henry, you know me and Rashad beef about this all the time. I'm a GCP nigga, but we beef about this all the time. I prefer GCP. Rashad prefers AWS.
But now you gotta be multi-cloud now. But the thing is, there's another thing too. Like technology is moving so quick now. So what I was able to tell somebody, a couple of years ago or a year ago, like, hey, just learn AWS and you'll be all right, or just learn this and you'll be all right. Now it's like, nah, man, you got to learn AWS, you got to learn Azure, you got to learn GCP, you got to know Linux, you got to know how to learn multiple things at one time. It may not make sense to you, but it's all gonna make sense in the end. Like if you keep it up, it's all gonna make sense in the end. Like,
right. And I was gonna add in while y'all said GCP and AWS, I'm actually finna go on this Azure journey. I think the name is just more interesting out of the two to me. Anyway,
Azure's gonna pick up a lot of business because of these AWS outages.
That, and honestly, when I was playing with Azure, I set up like a VM for something. I was like, man, this is just as simple as AWS.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that you can they'll let you set up like Azure Sentinel and all that stuff just through their stuff is like perfect. If you want to just start doing your own training or something, because it's hard to even. You can do open source stuff, but I feel like give it some time. Sentinel is probably going to be a good player in that SIM space. I think.
I think it's a matter of what you want to do. I often tell people that GCP was built for developers and DevOps. That's what it was built for. Azure was built for systems engineers and network engineers, and AWS sits somewhere in the middle, right? It sits in the middle for AWS encompasses a lot of the learning, whereas GCP is mostly dev, right? There's a really, really good site. I want everybody to Google it who's interested in GCP. It's called GCP in 4 words or less, where it explains all of their services in 4 words or less. GCP was built for developers. GCP was built for people who want to develop applications and deploy them really, really quickly. Azure was built for those MCSAs and MCSEs. Some of y'all may not know what the hell that is, but MCSAs and MCSEs who are moving to the cloud. AWS sits somewhere in the middle, right? It's for, he said Log4j is killing the open source game. We got to talk about Log4j, bro. For Henry, for the security folks, we got to talk about that at some point. But
elk stack.
Dude, Java runs on billions of devices. Anyway, so a lot of times, and this is where kind of me and Rashad sort of split. I do think cloud is the future. Don't get me wrong, but I think that there are underlying security principles such as incident response, such as threat hunting, such as threat modeling, that are going to be around no matter what the infrastructure looks like, right? So when we think of cloud, right, cloud moves from the idea of security, and I know this isn't a security live stream, so I won't get too deep into it, but cloud moves from the defense point being the perimeter to identity and access management, right? So I think but we can apply those same principles. Like there are principles within cybersecurity that will never change. Least privilege will never change. Need to know will never change. CIA will never change. So I think that we can still apply those things. And so I don't think you have to get rid of the knowledge that you have. We just have to continue to build on it. Like I said, right. I studied teaching and pedagogy. Yeah. And pedagogy tells us we have a thing called
Hold on. Wait. What is pedagogy?
Pedagogy is basically the study of how to teach, how to educate.
Got you.
Pedagogy tells us that we have a thing called scaffolding. It's a fundamental pedagogy principle, whereas we build on prior knowledge, right? So I'll give you an example. All of us have experienced pedagogy. So you learned how to write letters when you were at a certain age, right? And then you took those letters and you learned how to form words. But I didn't have to teach you to write letters to teach you how to form words. And you took those
we went from the
words
words to sentences.
and then sentences. And then when you took those sentences, you learn how to write narratives. And that's what pedagogy is. It's about scaffolding and stacking on top of what you know. So to De'Ara's point, networking ain't going
Can I hop
nowhere.
in there real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I tweeted something a while back. People tried to drag me when I said you need to master the fundamentals of your role.
Ooh, now we getting into it.
And people tried to say, oh, that's gatekeeping language. It was during that week where everybody was just like, it was Drag De'Ara week on Twitter for some reason. And people aren't, and I've been guilty of this too, specifically with routing, because I don't have a lot of routing experience. Just I haven't worked in companies that did a lot of routing. That's about to change. But so I forgot what I learned. Like I knew enough to make my way, to troubleshoot something. But I had to go back and revisit that. And people was just like, no, that's just something people say, the old tech people say. Like, no, all of this stuff builds upon each other. Like a lot of SD-WAN stuff is these old technologies running underneath. And if you don't know
RFCs was written in the 80s.
Right. Like you talk about, I don't need to know command line no more, but you're trying to automate BGP,
Yes, you do.
but you don't know the command line, and now you done like messed up your network because you ran some crazy ass automation command that fucked everything up. Like
Terraform, anybody?
Master the fundamentals.
Yo, you know what though, Henry? To De'Ara's point, what did we say about help desk? Like a few weeks ago, where it's like I still use PowerShell scripts and command line scripts, fucking bash scripts that I wrote in 2016, 16. You have to learn the fundamentals. To Rashad's point, with command line, it's like, oh, you don't think you need to know Cisco iOS? Well, maybe not, but what do you think you're doing with Terraform? What do you think you're doing with Jenkins or Puppet or Chef or Ansible? Any of these things? I don't know, man. I think we have to get to a point where we're just honest about tech, and we're communicating with each other. One of the things I love about our network, there was a tweet today where it's like, who are you appreciative of in 2021? It's like, I got people like De'Ara who like keep me up on my networking stuff. Like as a security professional, a little bit of my networking slips. Like I'm not doing, all of the networking
better
stuff.
at that too.
I'm not doing all the networking stuff. The cloud stuff. If it weren't for Rashad, I wouldn't know about half of the cloud technologies that I know about coming down the pipeline. Because then Rashad will talk about something, and then somebody will come to my come to me at my desk like, "Hey man, I need you to write a secure baseline for this Terraform thing." And I'm just like, let me message Rashad real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's a good Terraform book? I think that's the, to bring it full circle. That's one of, hold on. I got that same book, bro. I got that same book. I'm not gonna get up and get it. I got that same book.
Terraform up and running, boy.
I don't like it because all the examples are AWS, bro. Like all their examples are AWS. We'll talk about that another time. But I think that to bring it full circle, I think that we have to still depend on each other as a community, right? Like we have to still reach out to each other and rely on each other. And that's one of the things I miss about tech Twitter is that I used to go on tech Twitter and be like, hey, I'm trying to figure out XYZ. Who can help? And I would get a million responses with straight commands, be like running. Tech Twitter was almost better than Stack Exchange. Like, because you would get that real-time response of like, this is what I'm dealing. And we saw it with Log4j, right? everybody in the cybersecurity
Shoot,
community,
Twitter and Reddit.
everybody was tweeting about it. There was a GitHub of real-time IP addresses for C2 servers for Log4j. And I know Henry depended on it. We were, as a security community, we were looking at that. Like, here's threat intel. So I think we have to, to De'Ara's point, we have to learn from each other, and we have to continue learning. We can never get to the point where it's like, I know everything and now I can sell it or now I can teach it. We got to be like, nah, like Rashad know more about cloud than I know about.
Facts.
You know?
And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this last point, and then we're gonna get into this last topic so we can kind of wrap it up. The girls are starting to wake up. But to all those points, I will say, y'all are absolutely right with everything. I think eventually, given time, they used to say you give people enough rope, they'll hang themselves. I think that's what's going to eventually happen, because you'll be able to see the real when you interact with them, whatever they're talking about. They'll give you specific things. Just like you said, you're the person. If you don't know about this, I'm gonna tell somebody go this. Like, I was talking to a client today, they want to get in DevOps. I'm gonna tell them, hey, if they not already talking to Rashad, because they told me they're working with somebody I know. I was like, hey, get at him. He knows about Kubernetes now and all that. I don't. I know how to guide you to the right thing. Even when the client told me like somebody's working on their resume, I wasn't tripping. My MO is to say, okay, boom, let's just get you to where you're trying to go, because you don't like where you're currently at. That's all I really care about. So, and I'll come on this next one. It's like, how do we feel about 2022 in terms of jobs, outlook, etc.? I think it'll be just like 2021. I think it may be a repeat of 2021, but for some reason, everybody everywhere is sick with COVID right now again. And they don't know what variant people have. We don't know if it's a new variant coming out. I wouldn't be shocked if people still ain't got to come back to office. Because my whole deal about the going to office thing is, why are some of y'all trying to force us to go into office?
Are you going to office?
No, because I'm not vaxxed yet. So that's kind of like my calling card. So I'm like, technically, I can't go because their requirements are you got to be fully vaccinated to be office. So right now, I'm like, I'm not for what? I don't. They already said the vax don't even help against this new strand. Yeah. So I'm just like, what's the point? And then if I even do get the booster, you still got to test me all the time. I don't want to be tested every time I'm going to work. Fam, just let me stay at home and do what I'm doing. Ain't no reason I even need to be there. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Y'all spent this fancy stuff to have nice places, but at the end of the day,
you look at the numbers. Companies are still doing numbers.
Listen, they can't even get people to wash their hands when they go to the bathrooms. What they think gonna happen to this? Like, that's just how I feel.
Comment, but I'm gonna hold it to myself.
I see it all the time, bro. I be in the gas station. I'm like, fam, you really that's what you doing?
I see it in restaurants. People ain't even washing their hands before they eat. My career outlook for 2022, I see. I'm gonna comment strictly from a cybersecurity perspective. I see attacks on the quote unquote perimeter happening more frequently. I see the buzzword zero trust being used more. I see the idea of zero trust, as in we trust you, we don't trust your credentials, becoming more and more of a standpoint. I see VPNs becoming less and less common. And from a job standpoint, I see there being more jobs. He said buy stocks in EDR companies like Sentinel and CrowdStrike. Yes. I see EDR becoming more and more of a thing. And finally, I hate to say this. This isn't a cybersecurity podcast, but ransomware. Yep. I see it picking up. It's ransomware and Bitcoin mining. I see miners and ransomware becoming more pervasive throughout more and more networks. I see us having to be more vigilant and us having to, we won't get rid of ransomware until we get. I sound like a sales pitch, but until we get rid of passwords, we won't get rid of ransomware.
Yeah. Hey, honestly, it's a little job security.
Mi-
I mean,
Microsoft, they don't use passwords at Microsoft.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna get into that. Rashad, you trying to bait me. You trying to bait me into a passwordless argument because you know I'll get on that. Like, yeah, passwords are trash. Anyway, all right, next question. Next thing.
so what they use smart cards?
Biometrics.
Biometrics, yeah.
Yeah, biometrics. So, yeah, my cousin was down here for the holiday. She does corporate counsel law at Microsoft, and yeah, biometric. So, but what I see, like the trends in 2022, from what I'm seeing,
Take a shot every time Rashad say cloud.
I shouldn't even have to say cloud no more. Like, no,
We should have him take a shot just for that Dallas shirt.
Nobody knew what the cloud was when I was at the help desk getting them cloud certs, but they know what it is now. So I shouldn't have to say that. The writing's on the wall now.
I know they hit you up like, "Hey, I see what you're doing, Big Money."
Hey, when I started seeing AWS and those Azure for help desk positions, I already knew. When I was looking at the job description, I was like, "Oh, okay, they're starting to get down to the help desk with these AWS and Azure stuff." So yeah, even if you go into the help desk, you're gonna have to know that stuff anyway. So you might as well learn it. But as far as engineering goes, Kubernetes is definitely going to take over. Learn AWS EKS, Azure AKS, and Google GKE. Those three services are going to be huge as companies containerize a lot of these applications and break them up into microservices and orchestrate them with Kubernetes and Terraform and security. Definitely, I think a lot of job titles are starting to get merged together. So which is weird. I got hired, at my company as a senior software engineer, but on the project I'm on, I'm a DevOps lead. But the project that we're working on is a DevSecOps project. So it's almost like I'm doing a little bit of cloud engineering. I'm doing a little bit of DevOps. I'm doing a little bit of DevSecOps. A little bit of software engineering, a little bit of software development. If you can have a basic foundation and those technologies and at least be good at one programming language, Python preferably, but like that's your choice, what you want to go with, depending on what area you're trying to go in. But I think Python, is a good one. But other than that, Kubernetes is going to rule a nation. And then securing Kubernetes. So,
yeah, container go home. It's all about microservices now.
Mm-hmm. So cloud security. I always thought like having that security plus the cloud certification and knowing networking, like you should be good. Everything else you can pretty much pick up on the job, depending on because every company is going to use different technology. Some companies use that Red Hat OpenShift. I know that platform is real big, but I haven't messed with Red Hat OpenShift in production yet, so I don't know what they're doing with it. But yeah, I think you're going to have to learn more than one thing, but I think tech is moving fast this year. Next year, it's going to continue moving fast. I don't want everybody to get distracted though from this Web3 thing. I think a lot of people are going to get distracted with this Web3, and that's what I'm saying, because it's like the new shiny thing. It's like okay, nobody care about the cloud.
Space on it every day.
Yeah, now the cloud is here. Everybody's like, oh, cloud. All right, now Web3. Now everybody's gonna be Web3. Let me make an NFT. Like, let's just focus on, let's focus on one thing and get in there. Like, get into tech first. Like, let's get into tech.
Yeah, I keep on saying Web 3, and I'm thinking about Mo 3.
Yeah, we haven't figured out Web 2 yet.
DF, go ahead and go.
Yeah, I was just gonna pretty much echo that. Like for networking, it's pretty much very similar to cloud and security. Something I'm not seeing a lot of people talk about is network segmentation and micro segmentation. I think that's going to be pretty big, especially like with ransomware. That is one of the best ways to kind of like minimize the impact on your network is having it properly segmented. And as we, scale up to the cloud, micro segmentation and making sure stuff is only talking to what it absolutely needs to talk to. Um, and then outside of that, automation. So Cisco's really pushing their DevNet stuff. I haven't seen too much use in the field right now, particularly with smaller networks, but I think that's going to change, especially now that, remote work seems like it's going to be a thing, like it's here. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think you'll see a lot of companies concede and just say, "Oh, we're going to be remote workforce now." And of course, you need a lot of back end infrastructure to support that. So I think we'll see more medium to smaller size companies adopting some level of automation as they go remote full time.
I would add the same thing. Like I see networking being more valuable, cloud, of course, security because people are at home, and when everybody went remote the last year, I know companies probably didn't account for that, and they ran into all different issues. Like, man, listen, these companies will be thinking like it will only make sense to force everybody to use one type of VPN to get in, so you can track things a little better. They aren't doing that. It's a whole bunch of other stuff. It's gonna be jobs. Look to specialize. Like I'm looking to actually specialize in service now. Actually, what a security portion. I'm looking to specialize in that next year, so that way it could be something I can just add into my tool belt. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I can help y'all with this. I can implement that because that's what I just got certified in. That's something I'm working on. But and I think I'm working on CISSP. I try to throw some Splunk in there. I don't know, man. It's a lot of crap I want to do, honestly, to tell you the truth, without going on the soapbox. I'll put this one. Go ahead.
What kind of technologies are you seeing at your company as far as what they're doing?
A lot. I mean, a lot of stuff. And I mean, I feel like when they started, I'm just me loosely speaking, maybe they didn't have a lot of direction. So I'm seeing a whole bunch of different things. Whereas some of the stuff could have been cut down to kind of make it easier to figure out issues. That's what I'm seeing. I'll probably end up seeing more because it's been so slow. And with Log4j happening, like with me being new, I really have just been doing a lot of trainings and sitting in meetings and doing the stuff that me and E talked about in the last podcast, to get ahead. Like I've already got some good feedback. I have my manager, we have like one-on-ones like every Friday. And he said, got some good feedback on me. So that's all I'm concerned about. As long as I'm looking good, smelling good, getting paid good, I'm good for now. But, it's always room for improvement, always room to go somewhere else if they're going to pay you more. Because my philosophy is don't leave money on the table because it ain't going to be there 3 years later when you're looking for it. That's just me. I had to tell, I guess you would call them the boomers. I had to tell them, my mom and them that. They don't really understand. They came from that work somewhere 15 years culture. I'm like, that's dead.
No.
Not at all.
Let me see. We're gonna touch on this last thing, and then I'll just make shout outs to everybody and tell you where you can follow them at. He says, can you expand on the VPN being a less common thing? I've heard that people are removing the VPN, but I'm not getting it.
Yeah, I can expand on that from a security standpoint. So the thing about the VPN was a focus on the perimeter, right? So the idea of a VPN was to get users to the perimeter so that we could get them into a network that we managed. Well, with SaaS and with cloud and with things like that, we are seeing not necessarily an erasure of the VPN, but we're seeing an erasure of the perimeter, which means that we could take a user from their location through the internet, which because of technologies like HTTPS and TLS 3.1, we can take them through the internet up to our instance. And because of cloud providers like AWS and Google and Azure, we can encrypt that traffic in a different way. So we don't necessarily need to build a tunnel through the internet. We can encrypt from endpoint to whatever provider that we're using. Now, this doesn't mean that we don't have a hardware device or we're not utilizing technologies like Cloudflare or Cisco or things like that. What this means is that we're moving where that device sits. So that user isn't hitting a VPN connector or a VPN concentrator or some sort of server. That user is hitting a service like Cloudflare or like Cisco. I think it's Ironport. And Dear, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Cloudflare or Ironport, but they're hitting a service like that. That's from there encrypting that traffic. And we can depend on things like TLS 3.1 to encrypt that traffic throughout the internet. So VPN was really, really useful when we knew where our users were, or we could install a client onto their device. But with things like VDI, TLS 3.0, Ironport, Cloudflare, and edge devices that do such high computing power and high encryption, it's just becoming a thing of the past, and you don't see a lot of VPNs anymore. So it's likely that in a couple years you won't be running a VPN client on your device. You'll just log on to the internet, and then from there, because of your IP address or because of whatever MDM your device is being managed by, you'll connect to a Cloudflare or Ironport IP address, and that'll encrypt your traffic from there.
Hey, I gotta add my on board to the next one because that was a round of applause for
Yeah, you
simple
broke it down.
breakdown.
I just realized I wasn't using VPN.
Because
I'm like, you know what? Think about it. I'm not.
If we was in church, somebody would have stood up and told Eric to preach. I like to say that also I would say his example would be if all things were done the way they're supposed to be done. That's what I would like to say.
Yes,
because
you're right. My bad. I ain't add that. That's ideal. That's not real world. That's ideal.
Because I mean, every company is different.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Right.
I haven't seen anybody like anywhere close to that. They're very heavily reliant on Cisco AnyConnect.
AnyConnect is a big product.
Yeah, my last job we were doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
And I've even
go
seen
ahead.
it where like
Cisco Queen.
you can't get to the cloud services unless you're on net. Like they have the cloud services locked down to like the company's IP address. So you have to connect to a VPN to get on the network. I will say I've seen a lot more places invest in those little like VPN concentrated devices that you hook to your router at home, and you can just connect to it and it gives you like an on-net IP. I've seen a lot more people investing in them. Meraki,
yeah, we use Citrix Workspace right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or you got that Cisco Umbrella. Umbrella is a big thing now where you run the Umbrella client and it's not a VPN, but it redirects your IP address to a SaaS provider. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I don't want us to get too technical because we'll really get into the weeds on it, but AnyConnect is big. Umbrella is big. There are a whole lot. And then, Henry, to your point, Citrix, a lot of people are logging on to quote unquote dumb terminals and then connecting to some sort of Citrix portal where they're basically using a VDI to manage. For a lot of us in security, we use them as jump boxes forever, where we couldn't get to prod without going through some sort of Citrix portal. Well, now that's the way people are working. They log on
definitely
to
how we're working. No physical device.
Yeah, they log on to whatever computer they're logging on to. And they go through some NAC configurations, whether it's Bradford or whether it's Fortinet or whatever. They go through some basic NAC configurations. NAC stands for network access control. You can learn more and more about NAC if you sign up for Cover 6 SOC workshop, taught by yours truly. Shameless plug, but They go through
I
some
also have
sort
a
of neck.
blog post on that.
They go through. Check out De'Ara's blog post, and if you need more information on that, please sign up for a Cover 6 Sock Analyst Workshop hosted by yours truly. But anyway, they go through some sort of configuration. But at the end of the day, I think that VPN is not going away. When I say VPN being used less, think about it in the same way that people say IPv6 is taking over, right? Where it's like, it's going to be utilized. Is it going to become the staple right now? No, but think about it in the way that people looked at REST API 4 years ago. Whereas people saw REST API and was like, oh, okay, it's just a version of API. Now, when we say REST API, we mean all APIs. It's like Clinics or Xerox. Like when we say it, we mean everything.
Look at that. I was being funny with the Akon thing. Man, this has been great. And I already know I could keep on going on. Everybody can keep on going on. But I'm gonna probably have to wrap it up right here. Everybody has their, let me take this thing off so the Twitter handles will show again. These are everyone's Twitter handles. I'll make sure to go back through this and put it in the description. I will probably be clipping some of this stuff up after I have to rewatch it because there's definitely a lot of game dropped. You're looking at so many different people that have different but similar experiences, also based on the color of our skin. And yeah, but I appreciate everybody for tuning in with us tonight. This will not be the last one. Good audience because my channel isn't really known for live streaming. So I'm just happy y'all tuned in and rock with me, and hopefully y'all took something away from this conversation. But yeah, man, I'm gonna be out, and y'all remember one thing:
Hacker Happy Hour every month for 2022. Hey, everybody hit Henry's page up and ask for a Hacker Happy Hour every month in 2022.
Hey, that's a bet.
I got you, bro.
Let's get textual.
We can do that.